Hello and welcome back. So the last few lessons we've been working through a TypeScript tutorial, but we now know enough TypeScript to do the conversion, so let's get started on that. I'm going to just open the original project we were working on, and let's just run it to remind ourselves where we were up to. So here it is, and we see that if I click on this button, the banner is updating. The whole thing was glued together with this counter context, which exported both a provider and it also exported the context itself. The provider was being used by the app. It was all surrounding the app content. So the entire app content was the sort of scope of the context, and it was being consumed by the banner, which used it to get hold of the counter, and also by the click button, which used it to get hold of the setter function setCounter so it could update the count. So with that, let's get started doing the conversion. I've actually written a conversion guide as much for my own self, but it's available in the course repo for this lesson if you want to have a look at it. So here it is. I'll show you in preview. So here we are. Part 1 is going to be this lesson. We're going to add a TypeScript configuration file. We'll rename our file extensions from JavaScript to TypeScript. We'll update some of our imports to cater for this change in extensions. And finally, we'll update our package.json file. We'll add a type checker in the TypeScript compiler. And we'll also need to add some type information for React. And finally, we'll add the TypeScript tool in. In lesson 2, we'll add the necessary typing, the type annotations. And in lesson 3, we'll attend to any null issues that have arisen. And we'll finally run the program. So let's get started with this conversion. The TypeScript configuration file, I've actually got one available that I can just copy in. Now this is a pretty standard configuration file as of the time I'm writing the course. You can see it's quite a bit bigger than the one we used in the tutorial, and that's because we're actually working with a bundler such as Vite now. You might find that when you come to create new projects that particularly this target ECMAScript 2022 has moved on a bit, but most of the settings should remain relatively stable. So that will certainly work for our project, and I'd recommend just for now you don't change this. The next thing I'm going to do is rename my file extensions just from JavaScript to TypeScript. So just change the J's to T's basically. Let's do that. And here. Nope, not there. Here. Okay, I think that's done. Save these. Okay, and now one of these has got some imports of .js, so I just need to remove those. I don't need to put .ts. TypeScript will infer the correct extension. And then lastly, the package.json file. So let me just open that. I'm going to add this one item into the script block so that we can run the TypeScript compiler. And I'm also going to add these two definitely typed items into the list of dependencies. So this is going to add some type declaration files it's actually going to put them into node modules, but if you remember those .d.ts files we were working with to work with our own JavaScript, well, React is in JavaScript, and in order that a TypeScript program can sort of make sense of the React types, React have added type declaration packages, and they're located here. You'll find many other NPM packages in JavaScript follow a similar pattern. This is known as definitely types packages. And then finally, we'll add in our TypeScript compiler so we can run the type check up here. So let's go ahead and just do npm install, and that should add all these packages in. And that's going to actually complete lesson 1 on this. The next lesson we will attend to the actual type annotations. So I'll see you there.